Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Will Reese with AFC Vacations, and we have a fantastic show to cover a lot of ground all over Europe and all different travel styles. So I just got back recently from a fantastic trip to Europe. Got a chance to see Croatia and Slovenia, made my way up to Vienna, Bratislava, and finally Krakow. So I bring a lot of great insight into some of these wonderful destinations. Got to travel with Matt Kennel, our president, as well as Joe in our office, who handles a lot of your calls, and really enjoyed our time out there. Got to see a lot of ground. We covered pretty much the whole country in about 7 days. Fortunately, our trip is very inclusive. We got to see a lot of the same sites that we incorporate on our tour, and so I'll bring that knowledge to the show today. I also got up to Vienna, Bratislava, and Krakow with a good friend of mine, and I was expecting snow. I was expecting it to be very cold, but it was beautiful. Just a wonderful setting up in Central Europe. So we'll add some touches of that into the show as well. But let's get started. We'll get into some of our European river cruises at the early stages of the show. I'll talk a little bit about the background of AFC for anybody who's joining us as new to the company. And then we'll talk a lot about these great international destinations. So first and foremost, AFC offers worldwide tours and cruises, a lot of different travel styles, whether it's our European river cruise charters, our land tours within the US, or also internationally, and then these great train trips that we offer all over the world. We have something called our Unpack Once tours, and those are tours that stay at one hotel for your entire stay and really simplify the travel process, but such a great diversity within the travel offerings that we provide. Now, what's included with an AFC tour? First and foremost is round-trip airfare. That's shown in the brochure from each of the main gateways. If you don't see the gateway you're flying from, if there's areas that we don't mention, please just reach out. We can fly you from just about anywhere in the US or overseas. We can work with that as well. So lots of great options, especially if you have friends or family in other parts of the country. We've expanded our availability to different gateways, and so we try to make it simple for you. So if you do have friends or family trying to join a trip from anywhere, we can get them on board. And then we have a wonderful experienced group of tour managers, and they run tours all over the world, very knowledgeable, and they really do care about your experience. So stable of guides that do a regular program with us, Deb, Chris McCool, Pat, and more. And then we also offer guarantees. There are a couple of different guarantees involved. We have guaranteed departures. What that means is you'll see the symbol GD in the brochure as well as on the presentation. And that means that trip has enough passengers to travel. It's ready to go out the door, and it's a guaranteed departure. So we usually mark a trip guaranteed once we reach about 20 travelers. And as we progress through the year, we'll add more and more of these guaranteed trips. And people are booking out earlier. So a lot of these trips have already gone to guaranteed status. And don't wait, because these trips are filling up. We also offer guaranteed pricing. And what that means is once you put your deposit down on a tour, your price is locked in. So even as fuel prices change, as we're hit with costs from our vendors that we weren't expecting, that doesn't get passed on to you. So you can rest assured we won't pass that on to the travelers. One of the great benefits with traveling with AFC is we do offer home pickup airport service from your door to the airport and back at the end of the trip. It's based on a 40-mile radius, so 40 miles to your airport and back. And then if you choose to make your own way to the airport, if you use Uber or Lyft or share a ride with a friend, we would take off about $100 per person from your final payment. So home pickup credit is available if you do make your own way to the airport. But this is a great service because it simplifies a lot of the travel experience. And then what AFC is really about is real people and real service. Joe and I got to spend quite a good amount of time together while we were out in Croatia. He's spent 27 years with the company. And Dave as well in our air departments put in 20 years, and it's been a great staff of long-term employees, people that really do care about your experience out on the road. And we've been in business since 1982. So wonderful, strong core of team to answer your questions and help you book your travel. A couple of the great values that we offer. First is our risk-free deposits and no change fees. So if you put your deposit down and your travel insurance up front for your tour, again, it's a $400 deposit for domestic and $600 for international. Those are risk-free up until 90 days. So up until 180 days out, fully refundable and get your money back straight. Between that 180 to 90-day window is a future travel credit for any cancellation fees, so deposit or TPP, the travel insurance. So you can rest assured that when you put your deposit down, that is flexible and able to get that back up until 90 days prior. Then our Travelers Club is our loyalty program. And so if you book a 2025 tour or European river cruise, you're automatically enrolled. And your second tour is available for a $100 discount. So each trip thereafter, as long as it's booked within an 18-month window, is available for that loyalty credit of $100 after that first trip. And with AFC, we've been a word-of-mouth company since our foundings in 1982. So friends and family were told about these trips. They traveled with us, and then they became regular travelers. So if you do tell your friends and family members about the tours and they take a trip with us, make sure they mention your name because your next tour will be $100 off with that Refer a Friend credit. Our early booking savings is also a great way to save money by being one of the first to book on a tour. And so the first 20 clients save the most amount of money. It's up to $100 on domestic and international trips and up to $200 off on our European river cruises. And then the 21st through 40th traveler booked on those specific departures save up to $75 off on domestic and international trips and $100 off of the European river cruises. So being one of the first to book and paying your final payment by check is what applies for those early booking savings. Now, getting into some of our great departures for the year, a lot of our European river cruises have already sold out. These trips are going fast. They're an amazing way to see Europe and one of my favorite ways to travel, and I think Matt Kennel agrees with me. It's just a fantastic way to vacation. You get to unpack your suitcase, settle in, and see the world from a relaxing point of view. So this trip, Holland Windmills and Rhine River Castles, sold out for March. There may be a couple of remaining cabins in April 1st. And then our October 12th departure still does have cabins remaining. And so this one, October 12th, heads out on the Amadeus Star. And we partnered with this great cruise line to fully charter these ships. So this one flies into Amsterdam. We arrive into Amsterdam and spend one night in the city. And then we incorporate a Amsterdam city tour as part of a canal cruise. So you get to see the city from the water. And it's hard to get a motor coach around the city with how many canals they have. So this is the best way to do it and get guided commentary along the way. We also, on our April cruise, there are still a couple of cabins left, have a visit to Keukenhof Gardens for the tulips. So it's an amazing opportunity to see that and the flower garden of Europe. For October, we replaced that visit with a visit to Volendam and Edam. Volendam is a beautiful harbor city out on the coast of the Netherlands, and Edam is famous for its cheese. So make sure you don't miss out on that in October. As we cruise down the river, we'll be taking the Rhine, famous for its beautiful castles along that stretch. And our first stop after Amsterdam will be Cologne. And this is where we get to do a city tour, seeing the famous cathedral, working our way through and going out to Old Town in Cologne, and then down into the town of Koblenz. And this is one of the oldest towns in Germany, sitting right at the breaking point of the Rhine and the Moselle River, which kicks off to the west and southwest. So the Moselle will, after our city tour of Koblenz, we'll then head down the Moselle, and we stop in the town of Kokum. And this is in Germany. It's a beautiful little village. We'll do a walking tour there, as well as a visit to the Reichsburg Castle, which sits up on the hillside. So we'll take shuttles up to the castle, get to tour the castle interior, and then across the river, we also incorporate a wine tasting at a local wine cellar. So you get to try the Pinot Noirs as well as the German Riesling. So some great tasting experiences there, and you can, of course, buy some wine to take home. From there, we'll head down south along the Rhine again to the town of Rudesheim. And we have an optional to the music museum there, or you can enjoy your visit and walk around the alleyways and the beautiful shops and restaurants there. Now, all of our meals are included on board the ship, 20 meals in all, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then they usually provide a snack time around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but you can barely go hungry on these trips because there's so much great food. From Rudesheim, we'll stop in Mannheim, and we do an optional out to the Heidelberg Castle on this cruise. And it's just an amazing way to visit in Germany. Heidelberg sits up over the hill looking down on the town, and we'll explore there as well. And then Speyer is a little gem along the river with a beautiful reddish cathedral. And it's made from the stones of nearby mountains, so this beautiful reddish orange stone. And so just an incredible cathedral and small town in Germany. And our last stop on the cruise is in Strasbourg, and this sits right on the border of France and Germany. And we get to explore the city both by motor coach as well as walking tour. So we'll motor coach around the exterior of the city, and then we'll walk into Old Town. And that's where we get to see the incredible cathedral and some great little shops around there. And we finish the cruise in Basel, in Switzerland, in northern Switzerland. And that's where we'll either depart and fly out of Zurich, or you can extend your tour. And for those who do the 2-night extension, we do a city tour in Basel and then a 2-night visit in Lake Lucerne and the beautiful town of Lucerne. And that incorporates a walking tour as well as some free time. So beautiful trip going out April 1st and October 12th, limited cabins on that April 1st departure. A brand new tour that we're releasing is a variation of what we did in 2024. And for those of you who experienced 2024, you'll notice some differences on this itinerary. The biggest difference is that we get to enjoy a brand new ship, and that is the Riviera Rose that's going into the water in just about a month. So March or April, it's being launched. It's a gorgeous vessel with all sorts of great amenities. And this trip starts with round trip air into Porto. Now, we also have a 2-night extension before the cruise, and that is to Lisbon. So we've adjusted the extension as well. We'll do a Lisbon city tour. We also visit Nazaré and Fatima en route to the ship. So great opportunity to see Lisbon if you haven't already. And I know Dave absolutely loved his time there, as did Deb. So we'll work our way into Porto to meet the ship. We'll board this beautiful vessel, brand new vessel, and work our way up the Douro River. And the Douro is just so scenic along that stretch. In terms of the activities, we have 8 tours included on this trip, and one day, our last full day, where you get to pick your excursion. And that's a choice between Guillemarish as well a port tasting. So you can pick and choose which one you want to do for the day. So that gives you some great flexibility. We'll start in Porto with the city tour, getting to see the beautiful city with all its great bridges, as well as the stock exchange, and then make our way out towards Salamanca at the end. So I'll take you on a little bit of a journey through this experience. A couple of points I did want to mention before I get started into it. 2 departure dates. One is November 3rd and the other November 10th. And Deb Howard has confirmed she is traveling on the November 10th date. So if you like to experience travel with Deb, it's a great opportunity to do so on that second cruise. On board the ship, we include free Wi-Fi, wine and beer throughout the day, and then spirits and the cocktail of the day in the evening. So great opportunity to have some fantastic drinks along the cruise experience. We have a flamenco show incorporated with our lunch in Salamanca, Spain. And then we also do a folklore show on board the ship. And it's just a great staff, a wonderful crew to take us through this great experience, 9 days and 7 nights as part of the main program. So these are just a couple of images of the beautiful cabins that we have available on board the ship. Now on the left-hand side is the suite, and that has space out on the balcony. So you can have a seat out on the balcony, grab a glass of wine, enjoy the beautiful scenery, because there's no better scenic cruise than the Douro. So these are some great spacious cabins. The suites are just about 258 square feet. The standard cabins are right around 180 square feet. So plenty of room compared to previous years and a different ship that we used last year. Also, one of the great features in the cabins are the Nespresso machines. So you can get your coffee in your cabin or out in the lounge, but just a great setting and wonderful spacious cabins to enjoy the cruise. So on the left is the suite. On the right are the standard cabins. Those are category A, B, and C. And those are all located on the Diamond deck. The Ruby deck has categories B and C. And then the Emerald deck has the two lower categories. Those are E and D. So on the left-hand side is the categories E and D. Those still have plenty of room within the cabin as well as a picture window. No, there's not a bar in your room. There is a great lounge, however, on board the ship, and that's a great public space for people to enjoy beverages while we cruise and plenty of room to grab a seat and enjoy. And then on the left-hand side, that's a wonderful dining room. So some great images of the design here before it's launched. So we'll get some more photos for you as we do launch the ship. And then on the right-hand side is the main lobby area. So plenty of room near the lounge as well as that staircase down to the dining room. And along the dining room walls are these beautiful picture windows where you get to see the river as we pass. Our first port is Porto, and this is a great city with these incredible bridges. On the right-hand side is the stock exchange and those historic vessels that take the port wine all over the area and all over the river. And then throughout the city, we'll do a city tour, a walking tour primarily with some motor coach time, but it's a great way to experience into Portugal and the area of Porto. Now, I mentioned the scenery all throughout the Douro River, and there is no more scenic stretch of river than the Douro. This is a beautiful area with covered in vineyards and just an amazing sight as we cruise up the river. We'll see some cliffs, but the primary visits and primary sites are going to be these gorgeous vineyards as they terrace up and down the cliff sides. One of our other ports that we stop at, this is Castelo Rodrigo, and it's a castle dated to about the 12th century. The walls themselves are dated to the 12th century, but they say there was some structure there as far back as 600, right around that time frame. So it's just a beautiful area that we'll visit as part of one of our tours, exploring the area. One of my highlights on this trip is Salamanca, Spain. And we get to enjoy both the cathedral as well as the university in our time in Spain. And this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site in the Old Town and the main Plaza Mayor. And so it's just a wonderful setting for a local guided tour. And then we also include lunch. When we're not on the ship, we'll do a lunch out in Salamanca because it is a full day excursion. And that's where we'll also enjoy a flamenco show. So getting some cultural experience throughout the trip, incorporating that. The university, as well within Salamanca, dates back to 1218, so one of the oldest in Europe. And then Lamego, with its beautiful stairs, about 600 stairs or so. You don't have to walk them all. There's a motor coach that drops us off, and you can stay on board, or you can make the journey up and down the steps. But it's a beautiful center and visit to the gorgeous cathedral there. And then one of my highlights on this trip as well, besides Salamanca, is our visit to the Mateus Palace. And here at the palace, we'll not only see the wonderful fountain and waterway, the pond in front of the palace, but in the back are these incredible gardens, this amazing garden space with flowers as well, great landscaping, and the beautiful chapel in the back. So that's one of the great visits we incorporate. And then one of the unique aspects that we do on this cruise is we do both a lunch and a dinner out at one of the quintas. And these are wine villas, wineries, that are producing these great ports as well as some other wines famous in Portugal. So we'll do a dinner and tasting at Quinta da Pacheca. And this is actually one of the oldest quintas all over Portugal. So amazing history to it. We'll get in depth on that, but then we'll have a great meal and wine tasting as we explore the Quinta. And Porto is one of the great traditions. It's an amazing fortified wine. So it's aged, usually preferred 20 or older, 20 years or older. In many of the quintas, there are wines that have been held since the 1800s. And they're on the right-hand side. There's some wines from 1820. So a beautiful opportunity to try some unique fortified wines all throughout this cruise. And just a great overall experience taking this river. I did it with Matt just a couple of years ago and had a blast. It's a scenic stretch. It's a wonderful historic experience, but also a very relaxing journey. So not only do we get to see so many great highlights and sights, but we also get to enjoy the ship and some time cruising a lot of the afternoons. So just a wonderful opportunity to explore Portugal. It's one of the highlight destinations, one of the top destinations in the world right now to visit. Also a pretty good spot to move to if you're an American looking for a place to retire. Our Treasures of Ireland tour. This is a land tour working its way in and out of Dublin and runs all through the spring and into the fall. So March, April, October, and November. These are great times to go, especially because the crowds are a little bit lower. Costs are lower as well. So we'll fly into Dublin round trip, and then we'll work our way out to the west. So we'll start out in Dublin with one night, and generally that first night is staying at a castle, so a small castle or villa out in the countryside, just on the outskirts of Dublin. And then we'll continue out to the town of Limerick. And Limerick is where the book Angela's Ashes is from. That's the main storyline there. We'll go from Limerick out to the Cliffs of Moher. And these are just incredible stretches of scenic area pictured in the upper left-hand corner. And from the cliffs up to Galway. And this is a great university town with incredible history and a beautiful cathedral. From Limerick, we'll work our way south. We'll head down to Killarney, and that's where we get to see the Ring of Kerry. So from Killarney, after 2 nights, we'll do a loop around the peninsula of Kerry and get to see these amazing waterways. The Atlantic coast of Ireland is one of my favorite parts, and it's just an amazing, gorgeous stretch of both cliffs as well, beautiful greenery all throughout. And then we come back into Kilkenny and make our way back to Dublin for our last 2 nights, getting to see Dublin as a city tour, and we incorporate the Book of Kells as well as a whiskey tour and tasting. We do stop along the way at a number of different sites throughout, including doing a jaunting car ride, and that's a carriage ride out through the park and visiting Muckross House, which is a beautiful setting. So here are just a couple of great images, the Cliffs of Moher on the left, and then part of the Ring of Kerry on the right-hand side. And it's a loop around that peninsula that I mentioned before with some great beaches as well as some historical sites. And this gives you a little bit better perspective of the coastline there on the Atlantic coast of Ireland. Our Treasures of Croatia and Slovenia is also a very popular trip, and I just got a chance to see it for myself. It is stunning. There are a number of areas within this tour that I absolutely fell in love with. First and foremost, Dubrovnik, just amazing waterways that you can see the actual lit base of the ground under the water because of the water's color. And so we'll do a night in Zagreb on arrival. Zagreb's the main capital as well, the best hub for airfare. So we'll fly into Zagreb, and that is an overnight flight. So we'll depart March 18th, October 14th, and November 4th, and arrive the next day in the morning generally, or morning afternoon, and stay at a hotel right near Zagreb. Then from there, we head out into Slovenia after a city tour of Zagreb and do a tour of Ljubljana. And that is an incredible city out through that stretch. So Slovenia is very unique in terms of its architecture as well as its scenery. So we'll get into that here. This is a picture of Matt, Joe, and I out in Dubrovnik. Beautiful area with a medieval wall. And we did a walk around the wall. You can do so as well if you're active and mobile. It's a great opportunity to explore. and some amazing images from there. Now in Slovenia, this is an amazing stretch. This is Castle Bled on Lake Bled on the right-hand side and the lake on the left. This little tiny island that you can see from the castle and many different viewpoints, but it's a wonderful area to visit. And we visit there from Ljubljana. And this is a town that really captured my heart. It's just a beautiful setting with amazing architecture as well as some great food. Now, one of the specialty items from there is sausage. So they get great meats and cheeses and fantastic wines as well. But that's also known for its triple bridge, which you can kind of see on the left-hand side. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and built in a number of different historical components. But a great city to explore, and we do 2 nights in Ljubljana. You can also see the castle up on the hill on the right-hand side. So wonderful scenic stretch throughout. But one of the top experiences of this area is going out to the Postonia Caves. And in these caves, we take a train. We take a little rail car that takes us through the caves, and then we get out and get a chance to walk through the caverns and get to see these amazing stalactites and stalagmites. One comes from the ceiling down and the other from the floor up. So those are the main differences between stalactites and stalagmites. But incredible settings, and you can see just the really ornate structures that are created through dampness and much more with the minerality. So here are just some great images of the caves. From there, we head down the coastline of Croatia, and we get to see the town of Zadar. Now, on the left-hand side, these are some steps that incorporated as part of a exhibit. And as the waves come in, it actually pushes through and pressures into different pipes, and it creates somewhat of a pipe organ. So a really fun experience getting to hear the sounds coming off of the waves, so a natural music, as it were. On the right-hand side in Zadar are some incredible Roman ruins, including this local church. The tower in the background dates from a little bit further back, and then within that area is also a number of Roman ruins all throughout Zadar. So it's a great city tour that we incorporate on the trip. And then as we explore, one of the great settings is Split. And Split is another great coastal city with its famous Diocletian's Palace and the famous emperor that left Rome and made his way out to this area, and also the main square. Lots of great restaurants and shops. So we'll have 2 nights in Split, getting to explore that area and the coastline. And one of the things you often look for when you go traveling is different, unique foods. But after a certain number of days, you always have a craving for something familiar. And one of the best burgers I've ever had was in Split. I can honestly say that. It's just beautiful. And then we also get to tour within the Diocletian's Palace on this trip. And this is an amazing setting within the city. So we'll do a full tour with a local guide as we explore Split, but some great food and some great history. Then we head down the Dalmatian coast, and one of the great stops we make is just a restroom stop, but we actually get a chance to see some of the beautiful settings and surrounding areas of these little towns as we make our way to Dubrovnik. And so you get to see the cliffs as well as the homes and the waterways that come in off the ocean, off the sea, but just a gorgeous, gorgeous area along the coastline. And so many of these stops have just incredible scenery. This is the town of Stone, and it is not only known for its salt, but also for these beautiful walls, the walls of Stone, which are referred to as the Great Wall of Europe, similar to the Great Wall of China, and they stretch for miles as the original protection barrier. Last but not least, before we head back north, is our visit to Dubrovnik. And this is just absolutely spectacular. We get a chance to do a tour through Dubrovnik. Many of these sites were in the series Game of Thrones as we explore, but just a gorgeous harbor area, some fantastic restaurants incorporated. And then I mentioned those city walls, and the picture on the left-hand side is taken from the walls that we explored. We walked around the whole stretch of walls around the city, and just amazing stonework throughout this area. Beautiful pictures no matter where you go, and that's just from the south perspective looking at the city. And then a highlight for a lot of folks is getting up to Pleatvich Lakes. And these are an incredible waterway system with waterfalls as well as that beautiful, pristine water. So this is a national park that's kind of in the central part of Croatia, and we get to explore that as part of our tour. So 16 lakes split up into upper and lower parts, and an amazing setting to explore the national park in one night in that area. Now we fly back out of Zagreb at the end of these programs. March 18th is already guaranteed. It's ready to go out the door. October 14th is just a few shy of being guaranteed, and we'll get there probably with the November 4th departure as well. But these are great times to explore. I will tell you, I was there in January, and it was cold in Zagreb, but everywhere else was absolutely beautiful. 60s in a lot of cases, and just a great exploration, especially as you work further south. So if January is nice, you can only imagine March, October, and November are as well. One of the really unique programs that we released recently is our Treasures of Central Europe. And there's only one departure date for this, and that is September 22nd. So this will fill up as well. It's a beautiful opportunity to see some uniqueness of Poland, Czech Republic, as well as Germany. And so we'll start out by flying into Warsaw on this trip. And this is 11 days, 9 nights, and 14 meals incorporated with it. But we'll go from Warsaw through Poland into Prague and up to Berlin. So some great features, our city tour in Warsaw. We get to explore that fantastic location, including its memorial to the war, to World War II. Some of the ghetto memorial with the Jewish population there. From there, we'll work our way out into the city of Krakow. And I absolutely fell in love with Krakow. It's a beautiful town within the Old Town district. There's also the Jewish Quarter, which is an amazing area as well. Throughout both, they have great restaurants, great shopping, and it's a very safe experience. So this is Market Square, and I absolutely love this area. I was able to walk around at night, very clean, very safe, and fun to explore. Now within Market Square, this is an image I was able to take walking around at night. Lots of people out, a great setting. Still decorated in January from the holidays, but each of these storefronts, each of these buildings have shops and restaurants all around the entire square. And it's one of the biggest squares in all of Europe. So I found some great little restaurants and bars and fun little settings. If you do miss American food, there's always a McDonald's. But it's just an amazing opportunity to explore the city and some of the surrounding areas. Now, as we work our way out from Krakow, we spend 2 nights in Krakow. We also go out to Auschwitz. And this is one of those somber areas, one of those tragic parts of history. And unfortunately, it's recent history for us. So only about 80 years ago. And I was there 2 days after the remembrance, the 80th anniversary of the Holocaust. And it's really an impactful site to visit. The tour itself takes us through Auschwitz. We get to see the barracks, the blocks where people lived, where they were put up as prisoners, the gas chambers, as well as some of the other impactful experiences throughout. So it's definitely a place to visit. It's important that we see this history and don't forget it. And then one of the other excursions out from Krakow is a visit to the salt mines. And this is an incredible destination where we take in all the different art features within this interior mine. So waterways as well, decorated interiors of salt along the walls. We go from there through Poland and out to the Czech Republic, and that's where we arrive into Prague. So we'll explore Prague and all of its great settings, including the St. Charles Bridge located there. It's one of the most historic bridges in the world. And then up at the Prague Castle, as part of our city tour, we'll get to explore the cathedral as well as the castle and the Great Hall that's pictured in the upper right-hand corner. From there, we'll also work our way into Old Town, and this is where the astronomical clock is located on the left-hand side there. Great restaurants and shops throughout the main square, and then the other beautiful church in the background. From there, we head off to Dresden. And Dresden, as many people have heard, was bombed in World War II. But there are so many great historical components still remaining, including a number of great apartment complexes that are still there since before the war, as well as some of the beautiful exterior of the city. So we'll work our way there in the afternoon for a city tour between Prague and Berlin. And we'll arrive into Berlin and get to enjoy our last couple of days there. We'll do a full city tour, and some of the highlights in Berlin incorporate the Brandenburg Gate as well as Checkpoint Charlie. And so that has great connection to the Americans, to the US citizens. So it's great to see some of our history incorporated within other parts of the world. But just an amazing opportunity to travel to Central Europe, very safe destination and a wonderful place to visit. So this one takes off September 22nd. So as part of our show specials for those attending, if you book a new 2025 tour or European river cruise by Friday, February 14th, we are reducing the deposit for both domestic and international tours. As long as you book the travel insurance with your deposit, we bring that down to $299. So no matter what the trip, $299 deposit with your travel insurance. And then our one cabin category upgrade, and these are limited as our cruises are filling up and selling out. There's only a limited amount of time that we'll have these one cabin category upgrades available. So how they work is you book a lower category at a lower price on any of our European river cruises, and you're automatically upgraded to the category or more above it. So it's a savings of up to $200 to $400 per person, and just touch base with any of our representatives in the office when you call, and make sure you use the savings code TREASURES and book by next Friday for these to apply. So you can talk with Joe, Holly, April, or Samantha in our office, and you can email them Joe, Holly, April, or Samantha at afctours.com. You can call our 1-800 number, 369-3693, or visit our website, afcvacations.com, and look at some of the forums and our different trips. We have over 80 destinations that we offer, and so lots of great options for you. Thank you all for joining us today. Please send your questions to April at afctours.com, any feedback about the show, or if you have some concepts or ideas, destinations that you're interested in, maybe that we don't offer yet, but we could, please kick those over to April. And again, we really appreciate your time and thank you so much for joining us. But tours are taking off quickly. They are selling out, so please don't wait, especially for summer and fall departures, and even more so as we move through the year. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.